Welcome back to Journeys of Peace. You know the scene? It's almost a ritual now, isn't it? The slow shuffle forward in line, the bins clattering, laptops out, liquids in tiny bags if you remembered, and the shoes, always the shoes, coming off, then back on again. We all do it. We grumble maybe. We comply, certainly. It's just part of flying. But have you ever paused mid-shoe removal and wondered why? Why this specific dance? It wasn't always like this, not even close. There was a time when air travel felt, well, simpler, more like getting on a bus, just higher up. So, what happened? What turned airports into these fortresses of procedure? It's rarely one single thing. It's more like a series of ripples. An event occurs, something shocking, something terrifying, and the system reacts. It has to. These reactions, these new rules, these heightened states of alert, they often stem directly from true crime stories. Incidents where individuals or groups exploited vulnerabilities in ways no one had quite anticipated. Or perhaps, in ways people had feared but hadn't fully guarded against. It's a stark reality, but a necessary one to understand. These aren't abstract policy decisions made in a vacuum. They are born from real events, real tragedies, and real attempts to cause harm. Think about it. Every time you present your ID, every time a scanner beeps, every time you're asked to step aside for an additional check, there's a story behind that. A reason, often a very dark reason. Someone, somewhere did something that forced the authorities to say, never again. Or at least, let's make this much, much harder to do again. It's a constant cat and mouse game, a grim evolution. This is what we're going to explore. The stories behind the security curtain. The specific crimes that fundamentally changed how we move through airports, how we board planes. These aren't just tales of daring or devastation. They are the origin stories of the rules we now live by every time we want to take to the skies. Understanding them doesn't necessarily make the line shorter or the rules less inconvenient, but it might just make them make a little more sense, or at least show the heavy price that led to them. Let's go back, way back, to the early 1970s. Imagine flying then. It was a different world entirely. Security was minimal, almost an afterthought for domestic flights. You could buy a ticket with cash, under any name, and pretty much walk onto the plane. No one was meticulously checking your ID against a manifest. No one was x-raying your carry-on with intense scrutiny. It sounds almost idyllic now, doesn't it? Or perhaps terrifyingly naive, given what we know today. This era of open skies was about to get a rude awakening. Enter a man calling himself Dan Cooper. You probably know him as D.B. Cooper. November 24th, 1971, Thanksgiving Eve. He boards Northwest Orient Airlines Flight 305 in Portland, Oregon, heading to Seattle. He's calm, orders a bourbon and soda. Then he passes a note to a flight attendant. He claims he has a bomb in his briefcase. His demands? $200,000 in cash. That's over $1 million in today's money, and 4 parachutes. The crew, the airline, they had to take him seriously. What choice did they have? The plane lands in Seattle. Cooper gets his money, his parachutes. He lets the passengers go, but he keeps some of the crew and orders the plane back in the air, this time heading towards Mexico City. And then, somewhere over southwestern Washington state, in the dead of night in a freezing rainstorm, D.B. Cooper does the unthinkable. He lowers the rear stairs of the Boeing 727 and jumps, disappears into the wilderness. He was never found. The money mostly was never recovered. It was audacious, it was cinematic, and it scared everyone. This single brazen act sent shockwaves through the aviation industry and the government. How could this happen? How could someone just commandeer a plane, extort a fortune, and vanish? The D.B. Cooper hijacking became a catalyst. Suddenly, the idea of screening every passenger didn't seem so far-fetched. Metal detectors, though rudimentary at first, began appearing in airports. Airlines started to scrutinize who was boarding their planes. Cockpit doors were looked at differently. It was the beginning. The very first hesitant steps towards the security apparatus we navigate today. The skies, it turned out, needed watching. The D.B. Cooper incident highlighted the danger of a person carrying a threat onto a plane. But what if the threat wasn't carried by a person in the cabin? What if it was hidden, tucked away, out of sight, in the belly of the aircraft, amongst the suitcases and cargo? This horrifying possibility became a devastating reality on December 21, 1988. Pan Am Flight 103, en route from London to New York, exploded over the small Scottish town of Lockerbie. All 259 people on board were killed. 11 more died on the ground. The investigation was painstaking, global. It eventually revealed the cause: a bomb. A sophisticated device, meticulously concealed inside a Toshiba radio cassette player, which was itself packed into a Samsonite suitcase. This suitcase had been checked in as unaccompanied baggage. It was a chilling revelation. The perpetrator didn't need to be on the plane to bring it down. They just needed their luggage to make the journey. The Lockerbie bombing wasn't a hijacking for ransom or political demands in the traditional sense. It was mass murder, cold and calculated. The question that haunted investigators and the aviation world was stark. How did that bomb get into the cargo hold undetected? At the time, screening for checked luggage was nowhere near as rigorous as it is today. The focus had largely been on passengers and their carry-on items. Lockerbie changed that, profoundly and permanently. It exposed a massive vulnerability. The idea that your fellow passenger's suitcase, or even an unaccompanied bag, could contain a deadly weapon was a paradigm shift. It was a new kind of fear, a new kind of threat to confront. In the aftermath, the rules surrounding checked baggage underwent a seismic overhaul. The practice of reconciling passengers with their checked bags became critical. The idea being, if you're not on the plane, your bag isn't either, though this wasn't foolproof. More significantly, it spurred the urgent development and deployment of advanced explosive detection systems for checked luggage. Those powerful X-ray machines and trace detection systems that now scan every suitcase? Their widespread implementation is a direct legacy of the horror that rained down on Lockerbie. Every bag became a potential risk that needed meticulous examination before it was cleared for flight. The world changed irrevocably on September 11, 2001. The scale and audacity of those attacks forced a complete re-evaluation of airline security. Cockpits were fortified like never before. The Transportation Security Administration, TSA, was created in the United States. Passenger and baggage screening became far more intensive. Showing government-issued ID became non-negotiable. The no-fly list became a household term. It felt like every possible loophole was being identified and slammed shut. But the threats, as they always do, continued to evolve. And sometimes, they came from the most unexpected places. Just a few months after 9/11, on December 22, 2001, Richard Reed boarded American Airlines Flight 63 from Paris to Miami. He was quiet, unassuming. During the flight, passengers noticed a strange smell, like a struck match. Reed was attempting to ignite explosives hidden in the soles of his shoes. He had packed PETN, a powerful plastic explosive, into his footwear. It was a crude but potentially lethal device. Thankfully, quick-thinking flight attendants and passengers subdued him before he could fully detonate his shoe bomb. The plane landed safely, but a new vulnerability had been starkly exposed. Who would have thought shoes could be a weapon? Before Richard Reed, they were just shoes. His failed attempt led directly to one of the most ubiquitous and sometimes irritating airport security measures: taking off your shoes for screening. It seems like such an odd ritual, doesn't it? But it wasn't arbitrary. It was a direct response to a very real, very specific plot. Security officials realized that if explosives could be hidden in shoes, then shoes needed to be checked, thoroughly. And so we all untie and retie, slip on and slip off, contributing to that familiar airport rhythm. This pattern of threat and response continued. In 2006, British authorities foiled a plot to detonate liquid explosives on multiple transatlantic flights. The plan was to disguise the components as everyday items, like soft drinks. This near miss gave us the 311 rule for liquids and gels in carry-on luggage: 3.4 ounce, 100 milliliters, bottles or less. In a 1-quart clear zip-top bag, 1 bag per passenger. Each of these rules, each procedure, is a layer added in response to a past event or a credible threat. It's a constant state of adaptation, an ongoing effort to stay ahead in a world where the dangers are always shifting. The inconvenience is a small price, authorities argue, for the safety it aims to provide. Don't forget to like and subscribe.